Hello, everyone. Come on in. We've got about a minute left before class starts. I'm just trying to finish up some last minute stuff while people are coming in. It's just about everybody. There's only like 6 people enrolled, uh, so we don't have much more time. How's it going, Carter? Hola. I recognized a couple names, and of course,
There we go. Couldn't get to the end button. That's doing pretty good. How are you?
not too bad. So we're going to do another semester. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Did
All right, got some more. This looks like just about it. That's another.
all the physics twos get canceled for the lab this week?
Yes, that's one thing. Miss Dr. McCaig asked me to let everybody know is you do not have lab tonight. We had an instructor that was doing it, but he's not quite ready. He's cleaning up some stuff, so he's shifting his stuff back to next week. So I will not have lab today. Thank you for
Cool.
questioning me about that because I might would have forgot. Hopefully everybody heard that. It looks like we've got 5 of you folks. It's still less than we're supposed to have. I'm in the process of taking that document that was listed in Canvas. It says 241, 242 course grades. I changed the syllabus a little bit from last semester, so I have to update that document. So right now the one that's on there is not very good. It's off by a little bit. I've only changed a couple percents a little bit. So I'm gonna fix that and I'll let you know when the new version is up. And all of a sudden I just started yawning. I haven't yawned once the whole day, but now I'm yawning. Uh I guess we should go ahead and get started. It's about 2 minutes after, and like I said, I got all but one, maybe two students are here. So this is Physics 242. I'm Mr. Younger. We're taking a online class which has a synchronous face-to-face sort of Zoom meeting. That's how we're delivering the information. The good news is it's synchronous, but in principle, if you have to miss, it's not that big a deal because I'm going to actually post the video to my YouTube channel. I'm going to post the video to my YouTube channel, and I usually post that right after class. So, for instance, our class runs from 5:20 to 6:40. So, usually by like 7 o'clock, that'll be posted on my or excuse me, on my uh, YouTube channel. I'm going to type in my YouTube channel down here in the chat so you guys can use that until you get the syllabus. I did run into some difficulties. I tried a new way of making my syllabus this semester, and it was working really well as far as I thought. But when I got here Monday morning, I was unable to log in to my syllabus builder. And when I finally did get to log in, which meant, in other words, I didn't actually have my syllabus ready for my very first class. When I did get in, my syllabus was in there, but there was huge chunks of it that weren't there. So evidently I must have missed some save buttons or something. So now, now I'm remaking everything. So you will probably get your syllabus finished tomorrow. I have another 242 class whose syllabus is finished. So I will be using that to make sure you guys can see what the syllabus is like. And it's essentially the same, but there's my URL for my YouTube channel. Notice it's Billy Younger Physics Solutions, but that's where that is. Each of those videos has a little code in the description section, and the code will look something like this. I'm going to type that up there. And you can see that that code tells you what class the actual videos from. Obviously, that if that was the code, it would be the PHY 242 section N02B, and it also tells you what day it was recorded. Yeah. As you can see, 08/27/2024, that's August 27th, 2024. That's good so that you can, sort of look in your semester and figure roughly what time frame you would want to look. If you don't actually know what we covered, you can still find a jumble of videos from about the same time in the semester. So obviously this is within the first couple days of a semester. So you would either check in early January or you'd check in early September, or excuse me, August, or you could actually check in early May for the summer one, and that should give you the various dates you could find. But not only that, that code is also the name of the document that includes my notes. So if you go into my Google Drive for, in this case, Physics 242, you can do a search for 08/27/2024, and it will return the notes for that specific class. So that's why that code is in there like that. So you can easily find the notes in a PDF form. Because you'll see, like in 2021, 2022, there's a lot of times where my notes were obscured on the camera, and that was because internet bandwidth wasn't very good, and sometimes it got sort of pixelated, but the audio still comes through nice and clearly, so you can still open up the notes from my Google Drive and see everything you're missing there. So even the videos that look like they might not be that helpful are plenty helpful. So that goes back where such that I have a couple thousand hours of videos. The vast majority of them are long whole lectures. So spring and fall semesters, my videos are only on the order of an hour and 20 minutes because that's how long the class lasts. But the summer ones, uh, sometimes exceed 3 hours. So if you want to, make up for a lecture you missed, then you might need to watch a whole lecture. Obviously, you wouldn't necessarily have to watch a whole summer lecture because that's normally the equivalent of 2 or 3 days work. But you could at least watch it for the fall or spring semester. Or if you don't want to watch the whole video, you can always just scroll through until you get to me working an example, then watch the example. If it sounds like you're missing some information in the beginning, scroll back a little further and start a little earlier and watch the example and then scroll to another one. So that's another way you can do it. And then there's also some videos where they won't necessarily have that kind of code on it because it wasn't a course lecture. It was one where we solved a physics problem. And even the shortest ones are those of still like 15 to 20, 25 minutes because I try to really explain all the details. So just be advised, this is not like something where you can just click on and see a 5-minute example of how to solve a problem. I could do that in some cases, but you would be just as bad as, you going to Princeton and taking the same course and jumping in the fifth day of class and expecting to understand what's going on. You're just not getting enough of the information. So that's why I chose not to do that. But anyways, that stuff is available to you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys so we can talk about the course syllabus. So let me do that real quick. I'm going to share screen. Okay. So this is the opening part of the syllabus that I made for my day class. Remember, this is not your syllabus. This is the syllabus for my day class. The difference being right here, you would have 242 space night for your class. Okay, that's going to be the only difference really for this. And of course, the times of meeting and stuff like that. That part's not really that relevant. And what's below this has my email address as well as my personal cell phone number. So obviously, I'm not going to show that on this screen and then put it on my YouTube channel for obvious reasons. So I am going to skip that, but I wanted you to just see how the top of this starts. Now what I'm going to do is switch to another screen real quick. And I guess I can't do it that way. Let's see. Actually, let me stop sharing for just a second and I'm going to go past that section. So I'll stop sharing. I will stop sharing. I said, okay, there it is. So now while I'm stopped sharing, I'm scrolling past that information that has my personal cell phone number stuff on it. And now I'm going to share again. So let's do share again real quick. Okay. So here you can see my office location. Here's my office hours, all that good stuff. It does give you my email address. I'm going to go through that. I'm sure people could find my email address anyway, so I'm not too worried about that one. Here's how the syllabus goes, gives you a course description. It tells you what are the core competencies that this particular course addresses, quantitative literacy and scientific literacy. It tells you what the required course text is. Ugh. It's physics for scientists and engineers. We're actually working on Giancolli's fifth edition. I give you an ISBN for it. That's specifically the one that I just got from our student store. And when I looked it up on Sunday night, it was $187.50, which is a lot higher than I remember it just last semester. So I apologize for that. Uh, there are cheaper ways you can do it, but anyways, that 187.50, as best I can tell, is the cost for just an electronic version of a license that allows you to use the homework system plus a copy of the e-text, but only a copy of the e-text. That's why I think it's so expensive, or that's why I think $187.50 is too expensive for it. Uh, if you want to go on the absolute cheapest, then you can buy it directly from the Pearson site. Uh, it looks like only a couple of you just had me recently. So unless you happen to be somewhere else when you took 241 or the equivalent of 241, and that place happened to use Giancolli's fifth edition, if that was the case, you could probably still use your same account you had back at that other school or wherever you took it. If that isn't the case, then you're probably going to have to buy another site license to access Pearson and to be able to do your homework and to access the fifth edition. The cheapest way to do that would be buying it directly from Pearson, which you can get to by clicking on this Access Pearson up here in the top left. Everybody see that? So you can click there. And in fact, if at any point in the semester you find that one of your homework links in one of the weekly modules does not work, it's not taking you to the homework, your surefire way of getting there is come into Canvas and do this. Do not ever, ever, ever try to access Pearson without going through Canvas first. So always go to Canvas and then to Pearson. If you find a way to do it the other way, you're almost certainly going to ruin your class for the rest of the semester because I have no way of getting the grades from you once you do that. So don't do that, whatever you do. All right. Anyways, like I said, that cheapest way would be to buy it directly from the Pearson site, using a credit card or whatever. And then if you still want a physical copy of the book, I recommend getting a fourth edition or even a third edition, because there's really not much significant difference, and you automatically get the ebook fifth edition with the license you buy. So if there's something comes up where I make you do something out of the textbook, you'll have access to the right version. But if you just want a physical copy to read and you don't want to pay a ton of money for it, go buy a fourth edition or even a third edition. You're supposed to have some way of accessing the textbook. You're supposed to have access to the Pearson site. You should have a ruler, a protractor, a pen, a pencil, eraser, and I recommend graph paper, but it's not required. You should, as a student taking an online class, you need a webcam and a mirror if you're ever going to take a face-to-face proctored test using Respondus Lockdown Monitor and Respondus Monitor and Respondus Lockdown Browser. Okay, you'll need a decent sized mirror, like 8.5 by 11 or bigger. Okay, I even have a photograph of how you can set up that mirror. In general, what you'll have access to is if you happen to be close to any of our campuses, you can have your test proctored for free, your face-to-face test proctored for free at any one of the TCC campuses. Okay. If you happen to be traveling at the time and have to take it on the road, then you're either going to have to find a service that will do it, and that's likely to cost you some money, or you might have to find a local school. They might charge you as well. A local teacher, they might find you as well, or charge you as well. The main thing is I don't allow family members, husband, wife, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, uh, uncle, grandmother, mother, father. I don't allow those people to proctor your tests, mainly because I've had a lot of those particular people actually cheating for their child. So that's not a good thing. So I don't want to do that. But sometimes you can find like someone in your chain of command. If you're, for instance, in the Navy, you could have a commanding officer or something, a rank above you could do that. But that also puts you in a spot where that person who already has some power over you has even more power over you. So I don't want to ever foster anything like that where someone could be taken advantage of. So be careful if that's the way you choose. I just don't want to be any part of someone holding something over you. Okay. I would rather it be a higher ranking officer that's not in your chain of command that could proctor your test, or a chaplain or a preacher or something like that. Just so I have some confidence that they're not going to cheat. Okay, but that's an option to do, so keep that in mind. I tell you about how to go on the cheap here. Here's the learning outcomes, the major topics we're covering, stuff like that. Here's the description of the assignments. Basically, what you want to assume is going to happen is your class meets on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So in general, you should expect that some homework assignment or maybe even an online test is almost certainly going to be due Monday night at 11:59 p.m. So just about every Monday night, 11:59 p.m., you're probably going to have a homework due, maybe multiple homeworks due, and maybe multiple homeworks and an online test due. So just be prepared for that and always check for that. Ideally, you'd want to check, Friday or Thursday, so you have a couple days to do it by Monday. But as a bare minimum, make sure you check, Sunday night or Monday morning so you can have plenty of time to do them. In general, we cover about a chapter a week, and each chapter includes two sets of assignments. One's a homework, and the other one's conceptual. Sometimes it'll include three. Sometimes it'll be three plus some extra credit, all sorts of stuff like that. But those will be expected basically just about every week. There'll be at least three online tests and at least three face-to-face tests. In all honesty, it's probably going to be more like 5 or 7 online tests and at least three face-to-face tests. The online tests, you're allowed to use open book, open notes, open Google searches. You can use Chegg. You can use all sorts of stuff. The only thing you're not supposed to do is get help from someone who's actually seen the test. So if someone's already taken the test, you might as well say, I can't talk to them. I can't communicate with them via texting or anything like that. I can't look at any web pages they make. I can't look at any problem sets they solve or give me or something like that. That's what I'm trying to shoot for, is just not having someone who's seen the test give you any kind of pointers. Uh, I want you to be disciplined in this scenario because you have to fight for yourself in this case. What I mean by that is I used to work real hard to try to find the exact perfect amount of time I should give a student on an online test, because what I was shooting for was an online test in which I gave you enough time where if you maybe didn't know one question, you could have ample time to look up that one question and even find the exact solution on Chegg or whatever, and then turn it in and get your 100. I don't mind that. I want that to happen. I want you to get close to 100 or 100 on all your online tests. But if you find that you're able to do more than one question per test, then you're shooting your own self in the foot and you're going to make yourself do horribly on the face-to-face exams. So in light of that, what I've done is completely stop trying to figure out how much time is the right time, because I've had numerous really strong students that worked hard tell me in some instances they couldn't even do the test in the time allotted unless they cheated. So what I do now is I give you a much more significant amount of time But if you're finding that you have to look up more than one question, say every other test, or even more than one, definitely more than one question per test, then you're really not doing well. You're not learning the material well enough, and the face-to-face test is probably going to chew you up and spit you out. Like I'm talking like a 30. Okay. That's the kind of grade you'll get if you're not learning this material well enough. So use your own experience when you're taking these online tests, because I give you more than enough time, and I usually give you 2 or 3 attempts, and I only take your highest score. So if you're finding that you do need the 2 or 3 attempts, and even then you have to look up a question every time, one question every time is right on the edge of being a problem. Really, it should be maybe one, or let's say looking up 2 every 3 tests. That would be an ideal scenario. If you're not doing it any more than that, then you're probably okay. But if you're doing it more than that, you're probably not okay. So try to discipline yourself not to be so used to those, because otherwise the face-to-face tests, which count a lot more than the online tests, they are going to make your life heck. The way this semester is working out, you're going to have 10% of your course grade come from the homework, 10% of your course grade coming from the online test, but then the face-to-face test, of which you'll have at least 3, they're going to count as 30%. So each test is worth as much as all the online tests combined, if that's what it turns out to be. So you can imagine that they're not nearly as important. They're there to make sure you know what to expect on the test, to make sure you have experience seeing the types of questions we're going to have on the test, and to make you feel a little bit more confident about your abilities to take the test. That's what the online tests are for. Okay. The face-to-face tests are where I'm getting at whether or not you're learning the material. So it's very typical, for instance, the first face-to-face test to have a class average of like 52. I've had them lower, I've had them higher, but that's very normal. I don't want that. I want that first face-to-face test to have a class average of, somewhere between 70 and 78. That would be ideal for me. If it's not that, that means that you guys are leaning too much on you're looking up stuff and not learning enough. Okay. As far as the rest of the points go, 20% will be your lab, and 25% will be your final exam. Okay. I also give the typical 5% for having 100 average on your practice test. But what I do is I take the highest score that you make on each practice test. And if you skip one of the practice tests, the highest score there is a 0. And I average all those grades, and then I divide that average by 20, and that many points goes to your course grade at the end of the semester. So I just add it to the whole course grade, not to the test grades, not to the homework grades, literally to the whole course grade. So that's like a real big gift. And the reason I do it is because I want you guys to know that you really, 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 really need to always take advantage of any practice test a college professor gives you. Okay. Because that is not the norm. And that is a lot of work. And there's a lot of reasons for you to take it, and a lot of reasons for you not take it. Yes, Hannah, you have a question?
Um, I haven't had a chance to like read through the syllabus because you said you hadn't like posted it yet. Are you still pulling like a certain percentage of the face-to-face questions from the practice test?
Ah,
I did
yes,
that in physics one.
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's another reason for you to take the practice test. Thank you, Hannah. The other part of the practice test, in addition to me giving you extra credit for it, in addition to other instructors might actually give you practice tests and would get very offended if you didn't take it. And that could cause you to make a worse grade, intentionally or not, by the instructor. It could make you make a worse grade. So there's another good reason for you to make sure you take it. But like Hannah was saying, I guarantee when you take a face-to-face test, you'll have had an opportunity to see every question accounting for at least 80% of the points on a face-to-face test. 80% of all the points on a face-to-face test, you have access to those questions in the practice test. Now, with that being said, in about 20 years, I haven't added a single question outside of that bank. So really, for the last 20 years, you've been seeing 100% of the questions by taking the practice test. So when you take these practice tests, they're usually fairly short. They're like 3 or 4 or 5 questions, something like that. And every time you take it, you get a different set of questions. If you, in principle, took that an infinite number of times over the last 20 years, you would have seen every question that was on the test. I guarantee you that you will see 80% of the points for the test, but in the past 20 years, it's been 100%. Okay. So yeah, thanks for that, Hannah. Let's see. So I did put that warning about the going too long on a practice, I mean, on a online test costing you a lot of points, but I've pretty much gotten rid of that. I leave it there in case I decide to do it on any particular test, but so far I've not been doing it. Uh, all tests will be comprehensive. So for instance, your test one, we start on chapter 17 and then we go 18, 19, 20, all the way up to 31, and then we jump to 37. So your first test would be on chapters 17 and 18. Your second test would be mostly 19 and 20, but it would actually include 17 and 18 as well. And your third test would include mostly 21 and 22, but it will also include 17, 18, 19, 20. So that's what the comprehensiveness means. It's going to be like that every time. Uh, but like I said, each test will be mostly reflecting the last 2 chapters as far as the online tests go. The face-to-face test, because I don't have them as often, sometimes they'll cover 3, 4, 5 chapters. Okay. But you'll have had, if they covered, for instance, 5 chapters, you'll have had at least 2 practice tests covering it, maybe even 3 practice tests covering it. So you've had plenty of practice. Cell phones and iPads have been used to cheat on tests in my classes, so I've adopted 2 different ways to prevent such malfeasance. All students will be either required to put their phone away, in other words, put it in your purse if you have a purse, put it in your pocket. Uh, do not have it out, because at any time, if it's actually out, I'm immediately going to give you a 0 for that test and say that you have failed it and probably kick you out of the class. Okay. I don't care if you weren't doing something bad. If it's out, I'm going to assume that. Now, I know a lot of times you need your phone for your password and stuff like that. I'm telling you right now, if you need your phone for your password or for those codes, I'm going to allow that to log into, for instance, Canvas or whatever, and then it's going to have to be put away. The other scenario is every student will be required to silence their phone and place it at the end of their table. So what that means is you might be sitting at a table with 3 or 4 people and everybody's phone's at the far end of it. And maybe 1 or 2 people might be close to the pile of phones, but no one's going to be allowed to touch it. That allows me, for instance, if I have someone in the military that's on call, they can still have that and they can look. And if the phone starts vibrating, they can ask me for permission to answer it, and I can do that. And then, of course, I can also monitor a call to make sure they're not hearing anything about physics. Okay. So one of those 2 scenarios is a very likely thing. If I'm administering your face-to-face test, if you're doing it in a testing center, you're going to have to abide by the testing center rules. Okay. If you need someone else to proctor it, I have a questionnaire where they'll have to figure out, I'll have to approve the people. But like I said, I'm not going to accept family members, spouses. You really shouldn't even be asking good friends, even if they're not related to you. But people that have, some vested interest in their honor would be helpful. So sometimes people in the higher ranking might help.
For the face-to-face tests,
Mhm.
is it going to be like a set day and time, like Tuesday, September, whatever, we have a test? Or is it going to be like, hey, this week you either need to go to the testing center, do the responders lockdown, or get with you and set a time? Is that more of what it'll be like?
Gotcha. What I'm doing is if on this syllabus, for instance, I made specific days, the day that I'm doing the face-to-face test, that means I could take time out and block off that class, or I might just say, okay, I'm going to make it differ a little bit from one person to the next, and therefore you have this 7 day or this 5 day window to take it, and then you take it whenever you can fit it in your schedule along with the testing center. So the answer is yes to both ways. Uh, look for it and then look for it in the actual syllabus in the schedule, and then know that it might be that whole week that you're allowed to do it, or it might be that one day. You'll know it probably about 2 weeks before which one it's going to be. Does that
I
help you?
know that, yeah, I know you're still working on the syllabus. Do you know roughly when our first test is going to be?
Yeah, you can look right here. It looks like your first your first online test will be due by September 16th.
Okay. So face to face won't be for a little bit longer, it looks like then.
Yeah, the face to face looks like the first one's not going to be till like 15th of October or something.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I just try to balance it with some work trips and stuff. I want to make sure I don't mess up
Yeah,
too bad.
and you know me, Carter, so I want to make sure everybody else knows me too. I'm willing to work with you if you've got something that interferes with a particular day. I can work with you to get that done. I'm even willing to make a different test. The main thing is if I give you a test and y'all have a 5 or 7 day period to do it, you don't want to talk to each other about the test, because if you've already taken it and you're talking to someone else, you're giving them an advantage. If they've already taken it and they're talking to you, they're giving you an advantage, uh, because there could be some overlap between the various versions, but I'm going to try to make it a little different. So you really don't want to communicate with each other because you're pretty much ruining your own curve. Okay, because the more people that do well, the less likely you are to get a curve. And if you happen to be the one that talks to people that haven't taken it, everybody else is going to do better than you in principle. All right. So going back to this, I did that. Okay. Each week there will be a lab meeting in general. You guys will have someone other than me. Does anyone in here have me for their lab instructor? I don't think anybody does. Okay. That's a possibility. Sometimes I'll work with people that it fits their schedule better. So I sometimes do that. But without that, then you have to see the instructor that is doing your lab to find out what their grading system is. My grading system is whatever grade they report to me is going to count as 20% of the total course grade. And in my class, 50% of your grade is due to attendance, and 50% of your grade is your average of your lab reports. Unless I find that y'all are goofing off, in which case I'll make it a third, third, and a third, where it's a third attendance, a third lab report grades, and then the last third is a comprehensive uh, lab exam, which is horribly difficult. Like normally I get 3 or 4 people that make in the 90s and everybody else makes like in the 30s. So you don't want to do that. So I would tell you to do the same thing with your other instructor. Make sure all of you are participating in the lab. Don't be a wallflower. Don't let any of your lab mates be a wallflower, because that could ultimately result in you guys having to do a much harder lab course than necessary. So I'll move on from that. Uh, Occasionally, I will give extra credit assignments. When I do that, what they're going to do is they're going to only improve your homework score, like get it closer and closer to 100, or maybe even exceed 100. Specifically, what happens is if I give you a extra credit homework assignment, if you do it to my satisfaction, which means you got to get like a 70% or better, then I'm going to substitute 100 for that grade. If you make less than a 70, I'm going to substitute a 0 for that grade. But I'm also going to increase the number of drop scores by 1. So like right now, my rule would be I'm going to drop 1 lowest homework grade. But if I offer an online or offer an extra credit, then I'm now going to drop 2 lowest grades. So you can see if you get a 0, it's not going to harm you. Okay. So that's how that extra credit works. I'll also tell you about the practice test here, which I've already explained that to you. Here's the tentative lab schedule. And you can see, again, this is tentative, so I could change it at a moment's notice. But the main thing is I tried to set it up where we'd have basically a chapter a week. You can see that we're starting on chapter 17, and we're going 18, 19, 20, 21, so on and so forth. Uh, that's the plan. And I want to remind you guys that when I create homeworks in Pearson, it sort of sneezes them in there with dates that it thinks is reasonable. So at some point in the semester, you're going to log into Pearson through Canvas, and it's going to say, you know, homework for chapter 27 is due tonight. And you're going to think to yourself, man, I don't recognize this chapter 27 stuff at all. And then you might look in your notes and see that I've never covered chapter 27. And that's the rule. If I haven't covered it, and I do tell you what I'm covering when I cover it, but if I haven't covered the chapter, then I don't care what Pearson says, it's not due. You don't have to email me or text me or whatever to do that, to find out that. That being said, I know you will. Okay. I know some people will because they'll just get stressed out. But just remember, if I haven't covered the chapter, I am not going to require you to do the homework unless it's like extra credit because I don't cover the extra credit chapters. Okay. I just had something fleet through my mind real quickly. I'm trying to remember what it was. Maybe this will help. Oh, yes. So when you do email me, by the way, if you do email me, there's 3 rules you've got to follow when you email me. So you might want to jot these down a little bit. It's going to say it in the syllabus too, and it says it in this syllabus. But the rule is 1, you must email me only from your TCC email account. There's some real legal issues on that. Like I'm not even allowed necessarily to reply to an email that comes from something other than your TCC email account because it could be like let's just take a worst case scenario. Imagine you have a stalker, someone that really is wanting to do you harm or something like that. Uh, if that person gets access to your email account and then sends me an email because they're suspicious, they think you might be attending school at Tidewater Community College or something, they send me an email and then I reply to it. They say, oh, okay, so the student is at TCC and they're taking this physics class. I just look up Mr. Younger's classes and show up to each one of those and I'll find the girl that I'm looking for. So that's the main reason that we have legal reasons against answering emails from other TCC accounts. Also, you don't want to ever give anybody your username or password stuff to get into your TCC account for the same reason. But we have a modicum of trust that you haven't done that. So we will reply to those emails. Even then, I'm going to try to be as vague as possible just in case someone, you know, hijacked your email account. But here are the rules when you email me. 1, like I said, only email me from your TCC email account. 2, start your subject line with 242 space night, N-I-G-H-T. Okay. You can put anything after that in the subject line that you want, but it has to start with 242 space night. Okay. And then the third thing is make sure you include your first and last name in the body of the email. So if you do those 3 things, I should be able to reply to you. If you don't do those 3 things, there's a good chance I won't even look at your email. Okay. Now, I also expect myself to be good enough to reply to your email within 48 business hours. In other words, within 2 school days. So if you send me an email at 11:59 on a Tuesday, then I have to reply to you by 11:59 p.m. on since you sent it on Tuesday, I have to do it by Thursday at 11:59 p.m. Now, if on the other hand, you send me an email at 11:59 on Thursday, then I don't have to reply to you until by 11:59 on Monday. Okay. But if I don't reply to you in that time, that's when I want you to send me a text to my personal cell phone number, which is listed in the syllabus. And I will also be sending that to you in a chat right now, just in case you don't have it already. Let's see. Here's my chat window. I'm going to type that phone number right here. For obvious reasons, I don't want to say it. Okay, so there's my personal cell phone number. You can send me a text at any time. You don't have to worry about it being rude to send me a text at 3 a.m. or something like that. I've got my phone set up where unless you're one of, my important family members or people I care about, it's not going to wake me up at 3 in the morning or whenever I'm sleeping. So you can send it any time, and I'll reply to it as soon as I can. Okay. Also, when you see that I haven't replied to your email in that 2 class day period, the first thing you want to do is double check your email because I might have sent a announcement that covered your question, but because so many people had the same question, I sent it out as an announcement or something like that. So sometimes I do reply to you, but I reply to you in such a generic way you might not recognize it. So that's another thing to check. But like I said, if you have something really time pressing, like you're driving to take your midterm or something like that, and there's a traffic jam, that's something that needs a timely response. That would be when a good time for you to send me a text message without waiting for an email to be, not returned or something like that. You can just send me a text message immediately. So it's certainly okay to text me with, crucial time sensitive things, but it's also mainly for when I don't reply to your emails in a timely fashion. Okay, so make sure y'all do that. Don't feel bad about it. It's okay. That's why I give you my phone number so you can do that. You can look at all these particular days. You see our final exam is really supposed to be on in your class. It won't be December 9th. That's a Monday. It'll be December 10th, which is a Tuesday. So that's when your final exam is going to be December 10th. The last day of class is December 13th, and I think that's a Friday. But I always try to leave one of the class days open in case someone can't make it or something happens. That gives me another day for them to finish. So your actual comprehensive final exam should be on December 10th. Okay. Again, that schedule can change. Basically, the way the online tests are going to work is I'll normally like open them maybe on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and you'll have until Sunday to do it. I'm probably never going to open one on a Thursday and then say it's due Sunday. I'm going to give you more than just 2 or 3 days. Sometimes I'll give you a whole 7 days though. So that's the way the online tests work. And the face-to-face tests are going to be roughly this period. And a week or two before they're actually to come up, I'll let you know whether I'm going to do it where everybody has to take it at the same time, or we're going to do it where you get, a certain 5, 6, or 7 day period to get it done. That covers that. This is actually about the labs. Our rule here is supposed to be if you miss 4 labs, the 5th one is definitely going to cause you to be dropped from the course and get an F for the semester if it's after the drop date. So make sure you don't miss 4 labs. Okay. If you miss 4 labs, that could happen. If you don't turn in 5 labs, in other words, you attend all the labs, but you don't turn in 5 lab reports, that's going to be an F for the course as well. So don't do that either. Your other instructor is probably going to do something similar. I'm not sure because they're new, we'll see, but that's generally they stick to our rules on that. When I do grade lab reports, I normally grade them in 5-point increments. I'm not sure how your instructor is going to do it. There's a statement on generative AI. Here's my grading policy. You can see I give you a little bit of help. It's a 10-point scale. So, an 80 or higher, or excuse me, a 90 or higher is an A, an 80 up to an A is a B, 70 up to a B is a C. But at the C level, I actually allow you an extra point to get to a C, and at the D level, and allow you an extra point to get to a C. So you can see that you can make as low as a 58.5 and still get a D, and you can make as low as a 68.5 and still get a C. This is what I'm tentatively saying is our new percentages. That's why I'm changing that Excel spreadsheet. 10% for the online test, the lowest will be dropped. Uh, Homework activities, that means homework plus extra credit and that sort of stuff. That's going to be 10%, and the lowest two will be dropped. Of course, if I add extra credit, then it's going to be 3. If I add another extra credit, it'll be 4, so on and so forth. Conceptual homework is going to be worth 5%. The 3 face-to-face tests, which might include actually 4, but at least 3, they're going to be worth 30%. The final exam is going to be worth 25%, and the lab grade is going to be worth 20%. And of course, I told you about the practice tests. Here's the description again about sending me an email. Just remember that yours should say 242 space night, N-I-G-H-T. This is where I explain, it looks like I'm going with the 1 business day as opposed to the 2 business days. So that works okay too. I think I might have changed that because I heard some instructors were doing it and I didn't want to be the jerk that's doing 2 days. So whatever my syllabus says when you get it, that's going to be the rule. So it might be just 1 day instead of 2. Attendance policy. I really don't care when you miss days. If you, as long as you can keep up and understand the material, I'm not looking to take off points for missing days or anything like that. But if you do miss a day, you want to try to find out what you missed. The good news is, since you're taking it online, you know the video will be recorded and hopefully posted on my YouTube channel soon, so you will find out exactly what you missed. But even if I screw up one of those days, you can always find another course I had in a previous semester, and that'll have it. Okay. I should point out that 15% is 5 days of lecture and 3 days of lab. So when they say statements like 15%, that's what they're talking about there. Last day to withdraw and still get a W is the 28th of October. In general, if you miss a test, that's a very serious thing, even an online test, okay? If you miss a test, that's a very serious thing, and you need to contact me immediately if that happens. If that happens and you got no good reason other than you just forgot, then you're probably going to have to let that count as one of your dropped grades. If I determine based on my criteria, that's, for me to decide, if I decide that you do not have a valid reason, then you're not going to be able to make it up and you're going to have to take that 0. If I decide that you have a good reason, then I will do what I can to let you make it up. Sometimes it'll require you to make it up. Sometimes it'll require me to just take your lowest grade and repeat that, or take the average of all your grades and put that in there. So there's all sorts of stuff I'm at freedom to do, but I would ideally like you to do the makeup. Okay. If you let me know ahead of time, then none of those penalties apply. If you actually have to miss a test and you let me know ahead of time, I can work with you and will work with you to help you out as much as possible. So keep that in mind. The main thing regarding behavior is the behavior that I've seen that's been problematic is people pulling out their cell phones, their iPads, or stuff like that, or people writing on the equation sheet that you're allowed to have, putting stuff on there that they're not allowed to have. Those are all methods of cheating. And I don't like cheating. I get very upset when people cheat. I mean, I literally will get mad at the student for a brief period, and then I try to go back into my paternal role where I make sure I never hold a grudge against the student, and then I, work hard to try to help them still pass. But the main thing is, do not try to cheat. If you try to cheat, you're going to be surprised at how upset I am, but then you'll be surprised at how gracious I'll be and how much I'll do to try to help you. Recently I had a student that was caught cheating, claimed they didn't cheat, but basically I was very, very upset with the student. I explained to them that I could make it where they could never get into med school. I could make it where they could get kicked out of the Army or the Navy, or I could make it where you're never going to get promoted. Things like that can actually really negatively affect you in the branches of the service, or in things like med school, places where they really expect you to be an upper level citizen. So I don't want to be the person that ever causes that. And that's what could have happened with this student. But after I cooled off, I contacted the student and said, okay, you got a 0 on that test, and I'm going to let you make it up, but I'm going to take 10 points off since you cheated. And I made up an entirely new test and then allowed the student to take it at the testing center. And then I let that grade stick. Okay. And the student ended up making an A for the whole course. And I don't mind that because they did a really wonderful job on the comprehensive final. They got like a 97 on it. And it's really hard for me to justify giving you a comprehensive final exam, you scoring a 97 or 98 and getting a D or a C. Bare minimum, if you get a 97 on a comprehensive final, I'm going to at least give you a B, but I'm probably going to give you an A. Okay, no matter how bad your grade going into the final was. But like I said, it's a double-edged sword. So if you do it by cheating, I'm probably going to catch you, and it's going to be really bad. Okay. The final exam doesn't give me much freedom on what I can do to help you in that case. Whereas if you did it on a midterm, I have a little bit more freedom of what I can do. All right. So that's the main thing. Just don't cheat. Don't have stuff out that you're not allowed to have out, that sort of thing. Inclement weather policy. The main thing to know is TCC has an alert system. You should sign up for that. If you get an alert, that means campus will be closed or whatever information they give you. At that point, you should keep an eye on your email for the entire day, because I might email you with an in lieu of assignment. In other words, to justify me offering a class, you are supposed to get X hours of instruction. If 3 of those hours of instruction are canceled due to bad weather, then I'm obliged to give you something to make up for that 3 hours of learning that you paid for. So I will try to make up an in lieu of assignment or something like that. So you need to keep an eye on your email in case of any such event. And that's not just weather. That could be due to some fire on campus, or a person walking around that looks like they might have a gun or something like that. If we have to miss for any reason, you need to keep an eye on your email in case I send you something. Okay. Hopefully we're not going to have any people walking around on campus with a gun that they're not allowed to have. That would be obviously a problematic thing, but we don't normally have that. But I was just trying to give you an example. Withdrawal policies there, academic integrities there, the DEI statements there. What I wanted you to see on the syllabus, and you're going to have it on your syllabus as well, is down here at the bottom, there's a section where you can just sort of sign off on the syllabus, but I do it a little bit more than that. It says students should cut and paste the following into a text document, perhaps using MS Word. Fill in the blanks and either print the document, sign it, and turn it in, or take a photo of the filled out and signed document, save that photo as a PDF, and email it to your instructor as soon as possible. If that is not turned in by the 8th of September 2024, the instructor may drop the students from the class. So in other words, you want to go down here where it says begin cut and paste area. You want to highlight all this stuff and go down to the very bottom and then cut and paste that into a Word document, and then fill it, print it out if you want to, fill it out by hand or type it up, and that would be acceptable. And then if you send it typed up from your own TCC email account, I can count that as a signature as long as you explain that to me in your email. So, because I'll keep the email and the attachment. But you have to do that, and you can see it has some very specific questions in here that are typical questions that I expect everybody to know from going over the syllabus. So does anyone have any questions about that or any of that syllabus related stuff?
Will you accept a digital signature through like a
Yeah.
PDF?
Yeah, if you had that set up, that would be the best case scenario. And that
Yeah.
way you don't have to print anything out and you can just do the electronic signature. I just didn't want to have to make a student go through that process otherwise. Okay. But yeah, I would appreciate that. That actually is the way we mostly do things at the college anyways. So anybody else have any questions?
I have a question on the lab. So I know it's a different professor teaching the lab. I think there's a lab that's also on Mondays during the day. I don't know if that's your lab or if it's somebody else's lab, but it's a physics 242 lab.
That's me.
Um, do you know, like, will our lab with this other professor align with what the lab that you're doing on Mondays to be like if we were to need to work out like, hey, I can't make Tuesday night, but can I come Monday? Because I know like with you when you were the lab and our lecture professor, like if we could make a different lab time, we could
Mhm.
make it up in order to avoid an absence. So because it's two different professors, do you know like if we would be able to attend your lab to make up an absence?
I won't know until the labs actually start. Like every week I'll find out. Is your lab at the Virginia Beach campus or is it at the Chesapeake campus?
I believe it's at the Virginia Beach campus.
That's what I think too.
That's from like 7 to 10 or something.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is at the Virginia Beach campus. The reason why I'm asking that is if it's at the Chesapeake campus, they don't have the same equipment we do. So sometimes their labs are innately different. But I was thinking he's teaching that at the Virginia Beach campus. And if that's the case, then he should probably be perfectly aligned doing the same lab we are. The
Okay.
problem is uh, what changeover day is. So that's why I have to tell you each week whether that's going to be the case. Because, for instance, we miss Labor Day. I think it's Labor Day coming up. And that puts us behind where the changeover day, instead of being Fridays, all of a sudden going to be Tuesday now. So if that's the case, then the Monday lab will be behind the Tuesday lab and the Thursday lab and the Wednesday lab, in which case it might not help you. But I'm open to y'all doing that. If you ever have to miss a lab, it just might not be aligned the right way. So you might have to do it a week before or a week after or something. But yeah, I'm completely cool with that. And if you find that maybe the daytime lab fits your schedule a little better, sometimes I can make, if I have the room, I can make room to allow you to take that lab too.
Okay. Yeah, I actually think I have a trip in September, so I actually think the Monday lab being behind the Tuesday lab would actually help me as
Oh,
long
cool.
as the other professor's okay with it, at least in September.
Yeah, I think that's the way it's going to be. I think the Monday's always going to be finishing the lab that we had the previous week and then
Yeah.
changing the day will be Tuesday. So yeah, that probably will help you.
Okay. And I guess is it I don't know if it's a him or a her, just talk to them
Yeah,
next week.
I think it's a him. I think his name's Eric uh
Okay.
Johnson or something like that. And he recently finished his PhD. He should be pretty good. The people that know him says he's good. So I hope you'll like it.
Cool. Thank you.
No problem. All right, so that's basically the syllabus stuff. Anybody have any other syllabus related questions? Because I'm going to go somewhere else otherwise. Oh, I got another name that I know. The student just showed up. Okay, looks like no one has any more syllabus questions. So what I want to click on now is look over here. You see Access Pearson. That's the new link for my lab and mastering. So you can always click on that to find your assignments. You don't have to actually go to week 3 module to find homework for week 3. You can just go in here and look for what's due. So I want to show you what that is. It might not work for me because I'm the instructor, so things work a little differently, but I'm going to see what happens here. So you click on Access Pearson, something's going to pop up where you can go ahead and create an account or sign in with the account you already have, like Carter and Hannah and Micah, you folks I've had in the past. You can probably still use your account that you had before. If you've forgotten the username or password, you can contact them. I might even be able to look it up myself, but I know you can contact Pearson. That being said, I have no idea why it's not going to the Pearson site. Let's try hitting it again. Still looking like nothing's happening. I just got an email just before class started. One of my students said he couldn't access the chapter 1 homework from the 241 course. Uh, Pearson might actually be having some problems in light of that. So that looks like what might be going on here. So I can't do too terribly much with that if that's the case. And that does seem to be the case. That being said, let me go ahead and show you the layout of the course, and maybe it'll start working in a bit. You can see all these things with the check marks are the things that you get to see. The things without the check marks are things that I have, but don't allow you to see. This first module is basically the stuff that TCC puts in here uh, by default. So it's something that every student's going to have in every one of their classes. That doesn't mean it's not important. It just means it's not geared to a specific course. So you definitely should look it over and see what's available to you. But the main thing is it's not necessarily relevant just to this course. It's relevant to everything. So I'm going to ignore that and move on. Okay. By the way, the Respondus monitor and lockdown browser, that's what we use when you have to take a proctored test some distance away. So you'll have to have a working document or webcam, not document cam, a webcam, and you need your computer to be able to run Canvas. It needs to be able to run Canvas tests. It needs to be able to run Respondus lockdown browser, and it needs to be able to run Respondus monitor. I think that's pretty much it. If you're planning on taking it on campus, you also need to make sure you can access the TCC Wi-Fi. So those are bare minimums that you have to have for any computer you're going to bring on campus to try to use for proctored test. But anyways, that's what this first module is about. The other modules are modules I put in here. So this is helpful documents and links. This is a photograph of how you can place the mirror when you're taking a proctored test that's being proctored by a webcam. That helps you understand what I'm trying to do. Basically, what I've discovered is there's some ways that students cheat even when they have a webcam on them. So we're one by one trying to make sure that doesn't happen. So what we do in this case is we have the camera coming from the view of the camera coming from usually the top of the person's monitor. And what we're going to do is tilt the monitor at a 45-degree angle from the student and aim it towards the mirror so that I can look through the mirror and see what's on your lap. I can also see a little bit about what's behind your computer monitor as well. So that's the purpose of that mirror, because we find that a lot of students are constantly looking down, which is a good indicator that they might have something under their desk. So you want to be very mindful of that. So you don't want to be in such a position that it looks like you're steering down below your desk for an extended period of time. If you have a camera on that, that alleviates a lot of that if you have a camera on it with a mirror. So that helps that way. But even then, you still want to avoid that. You've got to leave the sound on so I can hear what's going on in your room. And if something happens, you've got to announce to me what happened so that I can hear it on the recording. I have the whole video recorded. They have people watching you when you're taking it. I'm allowed to go in and watch you while you take it. All that stuff can happen and you not even know it. All you know is that you're using Respondus Monitor and Respondus Lockdown Browser. But at any time, I could be looking in at you. One of the people from Respondus could be looking in at you. AI might be looking in at you. And then also, like I said, I can open it up and play any part of it and listen to everything that's going around in the room, everything that's happening around the room. I can see that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind. And please don't cheat. That just really makes my day bad. Okay. I do have the syllabus here, but it's the wrong syllabus. Just because I want you to be able to know what to expect, I'm leaving it visible for a little while, and then I'll erase that one once the other one gets there. So do not download this syllabus, whatever you do, because you'll have the wrong syllabus, and that'll screw you up the whole semester. So don't download it, but by all means, click on it to look at it if you like. These are the allowed equation sheets for this course. And that's the one for 242. There's going to be a 241 up here that I've corrected. It looks like I haven't put it up here yet, but it'll be there as well, because when you actually take a test, in the test, you will have this equation sheet already there, and you also have the one for 241 already there. You'll also have copies of the inside covers, front and back, of the hardcover copy of the textbook. So you'll have all those constants, all those conversion factors. You'll have your SI prefixes. All that stuff will be available to you. I'm going to put all those in this area just so you'll know what to expect is going to be on the test. In other words, what information you have readily available on the test will be up here. So keep an eye on this. This is the thing where I was telling you, you can put in your grades to keep track of it. I haven't corrected that yet. I will correct it, and it'll say something like corrected or something like that on it, or it'll say fall 2024. When that's up there, then download it, but don't download it till then because it'll mess you up. Here's a video on the importance of your syllabus. This is not the syllabus you should be seeing, but that's a kind of funny video about how important your syllabus is. Here's a link to my YouTube channel. Here's a link to my Google Drive, which is where you can find the notes from previous videos, so on and so forth. I offer this class 242 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I offer 241 at the same time on Mondays and Wednesdays. So what that means is if you show up by like 6:35 on Monday or Wednesday, then you can use that as an office hour. So as soon as my class is over, you can start asking me questions about your class, and that'll be an office hour. And I run pretty late on that. Sometimes I might have something pressing, so I only can afford 15, 20 minutes, but usually I can afford several on the order of a half hour, an hour, hour and a half, something like that. So I will put links up here that lets you find the Zoom invitation to those office hours. They'll be here as well. Let's close this up for a second. If you take your practice test, you'll see this is where they're going to be. And let's say you take this practice test, 10 times, and you realize, well, crap, this is on chapter 17 and 18, but it's really only 18 that I'm having a problem with. And I don't want to do a practice test every time. I'd really like to focus on chapter 18. What you do then is you click on here on the chapter practice and then click on that. And that's a very small number of problems. It's usually 2 conceptual questions and then 2 problems to work. And it's not recorded in my grade book anywhere. You can take it as many times as you want. And you're just looking at that bank of questions for chapters 18, for instance. So it gives you a quicker way to get through the bank that's being used for the actual test. So that's what these chapter practices are for. When I first copy them into a course, sometimes they don't work. So I've got to spend this week to check and make sure they're all working. If you find that one is not working, like it doesn't add up to 10 points or it don't have enough questions or something like that, let me know which one it is. That way I can get fixing it quickly. Here's where your practice test will be. When you take the online tests, they'll be in here. When you take the face-to-face tests, usually I do them online so that you can get your score immediately, and that means they're going to be multiple choice. But I will warn you, sometimes my multiple choice, you might have a single multiple choice question that's worth, say, 12 points. And if you get the multiple choice part right, the grading system is going to tell you got 12 points. But then I'm going to go in there, and if I see that you just did the multiple choice part, and I had told you in that particular question that you're supposed to turn in your work so I can see that you did it the appropriate way, in that case, you're going to lose 10 points and only get 2 points. Okay, so sometimes I do multiple choice that way when it's stuff that's super important, like in the 241 course, being able to add vectors by hand, usually actually using trig functions to calculate the x and y components of each of them. That was a typical problem that would require you to show me your work, or integrating integral of r squared dm to calculate the moment of inertia. That's another type of problem where I'd ask you to show your work. So if you turn in the right answer, you might only get 1 or 2 of the 12 points. If you turn in the actual work and you do it mostly correctly, then you're probably going to get the whole 12 points. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Though my tests are often extra credit, some questions might tell you that you got to turn in the work for it, in which case you're not going to get all the credit for just doing the multiple choice part. Week 0, this is where a lot of stuff that I expect you already to know from 241 is covered. So for instance, sig fig, scientific notation, dimensional analysis, unit analysis, that's stuff that you have to use every day in physics. So I expect you to know that, even though that was chapter 1 material. You might not have had the equivalent of 241 recently, so I put this here so you can watch it and figure out, again, how do I know how to do this stuff? Same thing with adding vectors by drawing, subtracting vectors by drawing, adding vectors, the brute force method, where you actually use trig functions to calculate the x and y components. Here's an example of that. Here's the world's greatest vector addition problem. Again, they're really only what I'm calling the world's greatest, because I'm using that time to specify each vector that you're going to add in a different way, so that you can see all the different ways I could specify a vector. Okay, so that's why I put the name on it as the world's greatest vector problem. Plus, it's also a little bit of homage to the movie Elf for the world's greatest cup of coffee. Okay. Down here, we're going to get into a section when we start going into chapter 22 and stuff like that. There's going to be times where I use symbols from different coordinate systems, like polar coordinates, cylindrical coordinates, spherical coordinates. This is where I introduce all of those on my YouTube channel, so you can watch that. I give you way more information in those videos than you really need, but it's just really to give you some familiarity with what the symbols are. You, in some sense, you don't even need to know that. You just have to trust me when I tell you this is r hat or this is theta hat vector. Okay, but that explains it in case you want to know more. You can see that it's actually Cartesian coordinates is 1 of 4. So there's actually 4 videos in there. There's 2 of 4 in cylindrical. There's 3 of 4 here. And then actually, no, I remember it's 4 for all of them. So ignore that stuff I just said. That's what week 0 is about. This is week 1. So this is the material we're going to start covering immediately. You can see past lectures I've done on this material. For instance, in May of 2024, I did the atomic theory, the unified atomic mass unit, and measuring temperature. And then I did linear expansion, moduli, and ideal gas law. Then I did temperature, atoms, thermal expansion. So these are all videos of what we would have covered on the first day of class. But the first day of class for us is covering our syllabus. So I would want you ideally to like maybe watch the first 2 or the first 3 for next time. That way, I can quickly go through chapter 17, which is mostly supposed to be stuff that you probably already knew from high school chemistry, but not everybody had high school chemistry. So that's why I want you to watch it anyways, because I might not be able to cover it in as much detail as I'd prefer to do. Some stuff's just awesome, like this. I said something awesome, so you can watch this. Someone shoots a pool ball at like the speed of sound at another pool ball, so that's kind of a fun video to watch. These will be homework assignments that are supposed to be visible to you. I'm not sure that they're going to work, but let's try just for the heck of it. Chapter 16 we don't cover, and if I remember correctly, I think chapter 16 is like sound. So some places expect you to have a knowledge of sound, so you can do that for extra credit if you want. It's just I'm not going to cover it. But let's check on chapter 17 homework and see if that allows me to go there. If anybody else is in Canvas, I would like to know if you're able to push oh, let me turn it on real quick. This does look like it's working here, so that's a good sign. This part's where it tells me I don't have the ability, so we'll find out in a second. We've only got about 7 minutes for class is over. I am paying attention to that. It does not appear to be moving very fast. We might still be having the Pearson problems. We'll see. Oh, nope, it is working. So you can see chapter 17 homework is here. It says it's due 9/1/24. That's not correct. 9/1, if I remember correctly, is Sunday. Yours isn't due till Monday, so I'm going to change that pretty soon. It's just not changed yet. So I'm going to kill this. That makes me feel better. Now, what I'm going to do is go back to module 1, and I'm going to turn on those assignments so you can see it. Carter or Hannah, would one of y'all mind clicking on chapter 17 homework? Make sure that y'all can see it as well. Just any
Yeah,
one of those. You did,
yeah.
Carter?
Give me 1 second and I'll click on it. Let me go back to the physics.
Oh, crap. I'm in the wrong class. No wonder. Stupid me.
Yeah, so
I just realized I was in the day class. Let me look over here in the night class and see what we're talking about here.
I can see chapter 17 homework. It says it's due May 28th.
Oh, okay. So that's definitely the last semester information.
But it's not loading for me. Let me see if I can just get to Pearson. Oh, here we go. Open Pearson. It's very, very slowly loading.
Yeah, it's not normally this slow. I think something's going on with Pearson. That might be why I got that email from a student. It's definitely slow poking it.
Yeah. Let's see.
Oh, there he goes. Mine finally popped up. Now I'm checking it by clicking on the next step. We got about 4 more minutes for classes over, everybody. I'm paying attention to that just to let you know. We're not going to get to cover any course material, obviously. But this
It's
is
like syncing my Pearson from last semester to Canvas.
gotcha. This one did say 9/02/24 on my side. So it seems to be loading the right course and has the correct date. So that makes me feel pretty good. Do you see what I'm looking at, Carter?
Yeah, I see you. Yes.
Okay.
At least in the Pearson website, it has it right.
Yeah. So what I want to tell you about this, everyone, is those of you who have me before, you might know what I'm talking about here, but let's keep it sort of on the down low for right now. What I want you students to know is the purpose of the Pearson homework for you guys is not for you to try to score a perfect 100. If you get 100, that's great, and that'll help your grade. But what I want you to do is I want you focused on making sure you get all of the homework done and you score no less than a 65. Okay, I would like you to score higher, but don't worry about trying to get a 90 or 100, but make sure you're above a 65. And then additionally, when you get a 65, make sure you figured out what you did wrong on all the problems you did wrong and that you can now work them correctly. If you got a grade as high as 65 and then figured out what you did wrong on the ones you got wrong, then you've gotten everything out of that homework that I could have dreamed you to get. Okay, that's all I want you to get. Now, if you're a particularly OCD student or a student that just really is an overachiever and expects to get an A and maintain your 4.0, what I want to tell you is wait till about 3 weeks before the end of the semester. As long as you're scoring around a 65 or higher, everything's going to be fine. At that 3 week from the end of the semester mark, come to me and I'm going to give you a way to fix what's going on with your grade. So for instance, if you've got all these wonderful grades, but you've got the 65 on your homework and it's making you have a hard time getting an A for the course, I'm going to provide a way for you to fix that. Okay. And I just want you to trust that I'm going to be really kind to you and help you in such a way that you'll be very happy. So just do that, do your best, get a 65 or higher, and make sure you know what you did wrong on all the ones you got wrong. If you did that, then you should be 100% happy with your homework grade. And then, like I said, maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the final exam, come to me and say, hey, Mr. Younger, I'm one of those students that's got, a decent homework average, but I'm used to making A's and I'm really bummed out that it's bringing my course grade down to like a mid-level B when I really should be having an A. I will fix it at that point. I will give you something that allows you to improve that score. So just wait that out and everything will be fine. You guys are free to go. Keep an eye on your Canvas page. I might not be able to send a text message or email message out every time I make a change. So the more you check it, the better off you'll be. But I will be updating this as semester goes on. Go ahead and start trying to finish the introduction to mastering and the physics primer. They're due a little later than Monday. But chapter 17, homework and conceptuals, due Monday at 11:59. So get those knocked out. You guys are free to go. Please chat me your first and last name before you go. That's the way I'm going to check roll every night. So try to remember to do that. You can do that when you first get to class, or you can do it before you leave. But everybody do that. And I'm going to wait for the last person to leave in case anybody has any questions. Jacob says he's not received the Canvas course I'm not using a separate Canvas course for the lab, and your instructor might not use the Canvas at all for his lab. So keep that in mind that not everybody uses Canvas, especially for labs. Thanks for coming, everybody. We're going to have fun, I promise.
Have a
It's
good
also
night.
going to be really hard. Yeah, good night, Carter.
The lab professor told me that the professor that's supposed to be teaching for the lab is having trouble with their account getting set up because they're a new professor. And
Yeah.
so they were hoping to have it set up like sometime later this week or next week.
Yeah, that's what I was told as well. I haven't met him yet, but I knew he was having some difficulty. So hopefully we'll get that worked out. If not, we can have some other people step in for him, so you won't get more behind. But this 1 week's not a big deal.
Cool. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, like she told me that he does intend on using Canvas for lab. He
Okay,
just
cool.
like can't get into Canvas yet.
Gotcha. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Anybody else? Tanika?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I have a quick question in regards to Pearson. So I'm a
Yes.
cross-registered student. My home university is Norfolk State. So
Okay.
I have a Pearson account there. Will
Mhm.
there be like a conflict if I get like, is it going to say you already have an account if I try to do an account for this class?
It shouldn't have any problem. Did you happen to have one for a physics class, or do you have it for something else?
Yes. No, I have one for a physics class.
Did y'all use the same textbook we're using?
It was 2 years ago. I need to look
Okay.
and see if it was the same textbook or not.
Actually, if it's 2 years ago, I'm pretty sure that's so old it won't work, because that means you were using the old edition. So you are
Okay.
to get another account. And if
Mhm.
you use the TCC email, it won't have any problems just treating you as a different person. If you use your Norfolk State email, it might recognize you and just put you in that account, but you can still update that account to include this course. So it
Okay.
shouldn't have a problem either way.
Okay, and then you'll still be able to receive the grades and everything,
Yeah,
right?
just make sure you never go straight to Pearson. Always go to
Pearson.
Canvas and then into Pearson.
Okay. And then once you update the syllabus, it'll have the information for the textbook, right? For the ebook.
Yes, actually, that one that's listed in here, that syllabus that's not ours, that's
Mhm.
actually correct. So you can use that for
Okay.
that part anyways. I just opened it back up for you guys. So feel free
Okay,
to
cool.
use that. And
Okay.
like I said, the cheapest way is getting it directly from Pearson, but you can get it at
Mhm.
our student store as well if that's easier for you.
Okay. All righty. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Look forward to having you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, looks like that's it. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for coming. Looks like we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Couple of students showed up that didn't sign out, but we're good. Bye-bye.